Hello and welcome to another Best Junglers episode, this one for patch 14.3, and while I thought this might be a quiet patch, turns out it wasn't one. They tried a hard nerf brand, they buffed Talia, they buffed all the items for champions like Lee Sin and Briar. That Sundered Sky looks ridiculous. They also shifted the passive on many items such as Kraken Slayer, and I don't need to tell you junglers, a lot of us like Kraken Slayer. And so we will go over all the best junglers for each MMR from low to high, but there's only one way to climb really quickly. It's by applying good jungle knowledge to your champion knowledge, and for that you truly must head to Virkayu.gg. I have a free jungle improvement resource as well as a dedicated program where we have jungle video courses, jungle coaching VOD libraries, weekly free video content seen nowhere else, as well as Q&As and patch note rundowns, as well as a private jungle Discord. And if there's one thing I'm good at, it's making junglers reach their goals, as we saw with the record number of people hitting them at the end of Season 13. If you want to climb faster than anyone you know, jungle div every game you play, click the link below or head to Virkayu.gg. Right, for the S tier page, we're gonna start off with Brand, because guess what? The nerfs didn't really do anything. Yeah, the champion got those changes to his passive in the last patch, which absolutely broke him. They hotfixed him, and now they've reduced his damage to monsters yet again. The thing is though, reducing the damage to monsters, wonderful. You know, reducing the amount of max HP that can be applied per that passive, also good. And they nerfed the base value of the Q by 10, which, you know, might not seem like a lot, but over the course of a clear does add up. Ultimately though, that didn't really do anything, because he's still Brand. You can still literally run around like your zombie Brand in real life, chuck spells, miss spells, and still overkill people later on. His clearing was so quick that now it's been nerfed a little bit, it still doesn't really change anything, because guess what? Most Brands weren't even that quick to begin with. That's the thing. In the case of Karthus, why is this champion not always strong? Because most people don't clear fast enough and they don't leverage his power properly. Brand, same exact thing. Except it's much easier to clear quicker on Brand, and so even bad players were doing that. Ultimately, until they really decide to figure out what to do with this champion in the jungle position, his clear speeds will remain relevant and strong, his damage will remain ridiculous, his item synergy will remain absolute top tier in the game, and the passive shift that they gave him 2 patches ago, honestly, just revert that and you probably have a good solid reversion to strong jungle Brand and not obnoxious jungle Brand. Next up we have Nocturne. Now remember, they are going to shift, and they did shift, the building of Noon Quiver into Hex Tech Plate, and I said that might affect the clear tempo of Nocturne in terms of having the bonus damage to monsters. And then they went ahead and added a Tiamat to the Stridebreaker. So not only do we still have that Hex Plate tech, which people are using with Eclipse and Axiom, you know, the hybrid fighter assassin kind of build path, Stridebreaker is not picked up that much at the moment, but the win rates for first item, second item are absolutely looking a little bit ridiculous. Because now again, you substitute that Hex Plate with the Stridebreaker again, you get the same benefit from the Stridebreaker. Not quite the same as the original Mythic, but the Tiamat active is pretty damn strong. All this means in terms of the context of Nocturne's power, he continues to be very easy to use with high global presence, high PvP power, but also is able to abuse multitudes of build paths and ways to play the game. This in comparison to other champions such as Viego, who absolutely did get buffed this patch because Sundered Sky is the third item after going Kraken Trinity Force, cracked, absolutely cracked. They gave him 150 free HP, who cares about the lost AD? And he's Viego, he already does a lot of damage and now he's more difficult to kill. But he also got the passive changes to Kraken, which is a base value increase early on. So he's more potent when he completes that itemization. But the thing is, while Viego does have a multitude of build paths as well, historically he's always had a really good optimized build path that people don't go. So Nocturne's overall power is typically because he can abuse a lot of those things. Viego's lower power, Hecarim's lower power, those champions, it's lower because people don't really build optimally. However, as I say that, this is one of the first patches in a while where you can look at Viego and go, you know what? There's actually quite a few ways to build them, but I still recommend going for the Sundered Sky third. I put that in the best champions to main on my new channel for laners. It's just such a disgusting item with so much healing, and now he kind of gets to relive those Defiant Sunder days while also having, you know, the crit Viego damage days. It's really the fusion and the best of both worlds. Fourth wave Bel'Veth, and remember, Kraken Slayer buffs that I just said and the base value for the passive, that is also making her stronger early, which is what she wants because she's a bit of a cheese and aggressive jungler. She likes to snowball, she likes to control the tempo, get all the grubs, get all the heralds in the game. That being said, they also like the Stridebreaker second, which now comes with a free Tiamat, which really as an auto attack reset anyway is great, but it also helps her with her farming just to ensure that, you know, the map control she has is now even more powerful. I don't know, honestly I think this is a good ban for most of you. Next up we have Evelynn, and she keeps maintaining a certain degree of absolute strong power, and yet she doesn't get nerfed, no one worries about it, people just kind of go, oh no, I'm against an Evelynn, she's gonna get fed. There's this level of acceptance that she's just gonna be a part of the meta forever at this stage. she has replaced Fiddlesticks with the Eternal Presence at this stage. No, they nerfed Lichbane. Well, anyway, it was a 25% base AD nerf to the proc. I mean, no one really cares if you're playing Evelynn. Her overkill, her power in terms of sequencing, controlling level 6, and voluntarily just giving up grubs, because even though they're great to get, she just doesn't need to bother with it. The map is so open, so free. People are skirmishing way too much. She's getting fed really quickly, and the amount of picks you can get into the mid and the late game, absolutely obscene. I don't know, I don't really have anything negative to say, honestly. Just an absolute powerhouse pick of a champion. If you're good with her, you'll climb easily. Next up, we have Briar, who they successfully shifted and normalized into sort of an assassin, as well as a bruiser. She's always meant to be a bruiser. The assassin build is kind of cringe, was cringe, but you know they've removed the sort of attractiveness of that build because, hey, we have Titanic Hydra and Sundered Sky now. Yeah, that's great. Now she kills you and is also unkillable. Hooray! I mean, that's always what she was meant to be. At least her damage to kill you now isn't in one flash, one blink of an eye. And if you can CC and disengage, largely it's much easier to kind of handle her, except it also isn't because they just buffed Sundered Sky to have an extra 150 HP, but they also increased Titanic Hydra by 50 HP. So the combination of that with 200 free health, what do you think that does to a champion who now does a little less damage when she goes in on you, but, you know, likes to sustain and heal? Only pain, my friends. Only pain. Following this, we have Kha'Zix, and while the Ghostblade and Collector were nerfed, and we'll talk about that in a second, it doesn't change the reality for Kha'Zix, who can go a multitude of different lethality itemization choices. The Profane nerf doesn't really do too much. Ghostblade is still excellent, opportunity works. Cyclo's Sword is also a viable option, although not really, you know, too high on that item. Some people use it, some people don't. I don't think it's that great overall. Edge of Night, Serilda's Grudge, and at the end of the day, you're still Kha'Zix. Act like it. I can't believe there's people on Twitter with frog profile pictures thinking this champion is weak. Unbelievable. But you know who's not weak? Master Yi. You know why? Because, yeah, well, he's Master Yi, and he also builds Kraken Slayer. Oh, and he also builds Titanic Hydra X at 50 HP for him as well. Yeah, you're looking at a guy that's just a little bit ridiculous overall. I do feel like we can counter him and we can handle him. It's a strange situation where Master Yi feels like he can pop off and take over games like the old days, but at the same time, there's more than enough things we can do on the map to kind of counter that and keep him down a little bit. It's a weird place to be in because his win rate data looks really, really good, and obviously we've got Blade, we got Kraken, Wit's End, Titanic Hydra, Rage Blade, also just buffed. So basically, he's really happy, and it feels like a lot of us know how to counter him, but when he's fed, you know, we're all sad. You know who is actually sad is Graves on this A tier page, and that's good because no one likes you, you suck, when you're in the meta, it's boring, and you know, in high elo, you're just a bit of an unskilled map controller. Okay, trash talk out of the way, they nerfed the range component of Ghostblade, which directly affects Graves, basically a huge Graves nerf. Also affects the centers of the world, but mostly Graves. And Collector has had a 5 AD nerf. What this means, my friends, is every single attack has 5 less AD on it. And what this has done, because that's his core build, is reduced that win rate by about 1% already. However, there are other ways to build Graves. Whether it's this build, whether it's another lethality build, whether it's a crit-based auto attack build, he will always be a good jungler in the right hands. Next up, we have Kayn, and I thought I was going to put him on the S tier page because of how the data looked with all these changes around. The Profane Hydra nerfs do obviously affect people a little bit, but not really that much. I mean, it was such a strong item, it is still a strong item. The thing is, while Blue Kayn is absolutely fine and dandy with all his lethality itemization options, Ras just got a huge boost with the Sundered Sky. Have seen people go with the Titanic Hydra as an option as well. I still prefer the Profane, but it doesn't really matter when his Sundered Sky item just goes, you know, sky high with extra HP. He's just even more unkillable now. Following that, we have Vi, for exactly the same reason as everybody else. Titanic Hydra, 50 HP, Sundered Sky, 150 HP. She can go in, she can live, she can farm, she can heal, she can crit you. It was like we just finally got rid of this champion in Pro Blade, point and click, really, really boring to watch. However, in solo queue, boring is sometimes what you want. A reliable, easy to use, cookie cutter build champion that kills ADCs that move a lot, like Vayne's. Now, if you don't like people moving a lot, you want to play Zac. While he is growing in popularity in the top lane, and he is strong there as well, he's absolutely still fine and pretty damn strong in the jungle also. I feel a lot of people let preconceptions, misconceptions, and hot takes kind of mislead people as to what's actually strong and what's not. In this case, yes, he is strong. In this case, yes, he can control games a lot as this engaged, disruptive, CC, destroyer, giga healing, never dying champion, but he's never going to be the sole reason you lose a game, you understand? Definitely the best solo carry tank in the jungle at the moment. I mean, obviously with the Liandry's tech as well. It's just that I don't really feel his jungle potency is as powerful as others might think it is. Xin Zhao's power of Titanic Hydra Sundered Sky. Wait, I think I've mentioned that in this video. Have I mentioned that in this video? I might have to mention it again. Yeah, that's why he's also strong. That's why he was strong. That's why he is strong. And that's why he will continue to be strong. Following that, we have Lee Sin, who will also, for those same reasons, be strong. Man, I'm so happy that we left Mythics behind just to enter the same damn reality. Hey, we removed Divine Sunder and Gold Drink here. Let's bring back Sundered Sky. That will do us good. Again, there's a lot of items in the game, a lot of build paths, a lot of ways to go. But the fact that I have to mention the same items this much in one video, I don't like it. Which is great because now we can talk about Nidalee. They decided, rather than buffing anything a little bit odd and weird, to buff something even weirder, her healing, as well as amping up that attack speed passive when you press Primal Surge Human Form E. That's the thing that gives a heal and an attack speed steroid. So if you get 6 grubs, if you're able to dismantle the enemy jungler, which you can still do, and you have a really nice and powerful ADC that you've ganked and gotten fed, hey, extra 10% attack speed when you amp that up, no one's complaining. And of course the grubs plus that will really do light work of turrets. So abuse your Lich Bane, abuse your passive, use that maximum heal and minimum heal doubling, it's great, it's fantastic, and do what Nidalee does. Map control, destroy, eviscerate, and snowball. And while there's a lot of champions with a higher play rate that you could put here that you could argue, hey, should be on the A tier page, I'm not denying Kindred. In the right hands, absolutely still disgusting. Kraken Slayer passive buffs in the early game equals better snowballing potential. It's the same for everybody. Even though the fall off is there, the early game for these particular champions and the snowball component is just too powerful to ignore. Not to mention we still have Trinity Force and Terminus and Wit's End. There's nothing stopping Kindreds from snowballing games and climbing except your own pilot skill issue. No offense, but it's true. For low elo, you might notice a little bit of a shuffle and a shiffle. The Lilia did get nerfed. People are saying she's gutted. No, she was absolutely disgustingly broken. Yeah, she's a little bit weaker at the moment, but in low elo, you wouldn't notice a change. It's still a huge win rate. The brand is still here, the Master G's gone up, Briar's still here, but look at the bottom. We have a Warwick. Do you want to know why? Because of Titanic and Sundered Sky. So that's exactly why I left Rammus. Even though I could put other champions here, I choose to put Rammus here because you got Briar, you got Master Yi, you got a Warwick, you got a Jax. What is going to do good work against him if you understand jungling and you're looking to climb to gold easily? Playing Rammus. But as we always talk about in the coaching classes in the private Discord, it's about understanding this balance between ganking, farming, impact, when to split, when to group, when to be with your team. Too many times in low elo, a lot of you players are playing anything on this list. Your team are looking to push and do stuff to win, and you're farming camps still. So keep that proactivity there no matter what champion you're playing. But all of these provide a certain goodness for this particular elo in terms of either dominating teamfights, dominating ganks, farming up a storm. There's always something here in terms of playstyle that will get you to goal. And following that, we have the high elo page. Now, I thought deeply about putting Rengar back on here because his win rate is still absolutely fine in high elo, the nerfs were good overall, and it seems while his power is really bad for the general population, one tricks and mains are still going to keep playing and winning with him. Obviously, the Profane Hydra passive nerfs directly affect him as well as he likes all the new items, and so it's just a combination, a sum of parts affecting his win rates. However, as you're seeing, the Taliyah absolutely juiced in high elo, not so great in, regular people's elos, but that's just a normal thing. High elo, that's what Taliyah does. She's a tempo scaling jungler that does almost everything you could want, but is difficult to pilot, and your first clears need to be really proficient. You really need to be in an elo where the increase in 10 seconds is something you can actually really leverage for tempo control. And of course, Nidalee, when she's good, and yeah, she is. Lee Sin I really like in general, and I've put him in the general list at the moment, but he always dominates high elo with Viego and Graves, and Velveth is popping off as well. As always though, you got your Karthus, you got your Nunu, you've got your other champions that you can use on high elo provided you're good enough. There's a lot of choices here, which is really great to say because I remember making this video for years. There'd be like 8 high elo junglers that just dominated, and now for the general population, there's always a specific few that dominate. But in the recent season or two, there's really been a good, large pool of effective junglers in high elo, provided obviously you understand matchups and you know how to play them. But as always, if you just want to learn how to become a farming jungler or a ganking jungler, choose your video on the screen now.